These. Welcome back. Right now, Health and Human Services pausing its annual $185 million child care payments to Minnesota because of this massive fraud investigation growing. Governor Tim Walz still pointing blame at anyone else, posting, quote, "This is Trump's long game. We spent years cracking down on fraudsters. It's a serious issue, but this was his plan, although long, is politicizing the issue to defund programs that help Minnesotans," end quote. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt joining us. Karoline, thank you for being here. Happy New Year's Eve. Let's jump in with Governor Walz blasting President Trump and the Trump administration, saying this is all about politicizing this massive fraud that keeps growing that we are learning about. You see that as what you saw from Governor Walz, saying this is Trump's long game? Spent years cracking down on fraud issues, and this was his plan all along. Your reaction? Governor Walz is completely incompetent. He always has been. President Trump has long called him out for his incompetence and his poor leadership in the great state of Minnesota. I want to commend Nick Shirley for his incredible video and real journalism that went viral this past week. He epitomizes what new media looks like. That's exactly why we at the White House, under President Trump's direction, have embraced new media journalists like Nick Shirley. We welcomed them into the White House press pool. We invited Nick Shirley to brief the President of the United States at an Antifa roundtable. This fraud in Governor Walz's state, in Minnesota, is something the Trump administration has been working on since day one. Didn't Nick Shirley's journalism brought this issue further to light? We have surged resources across the board to the state. I want your audience to understand this is a top priority for the administration. The Department of Justice, as we speak, is continuing to execute search warrants and subpoenas. People will be in handcuffs as a result of the fraud that Governor Walz has allowed to occur for many years. The Department of Homeland Security is conducting door-to-door investigations on the ground at potential fraud sites. They are also conducting continued deportations of illegal aliens in the Minnesota communities who are not afraid to use denaturalization. That's the tool with the President of the United States' disposal, and it's one this administration has previously used before. I know the Health and Human Services Department has announced we are cutting off all childcare funding to the state of Minnesota until we get to the bottom of the fraud. The Department of Labor is investigating their unemployment insurance program. The Department of USTA, Agriculture, Secretary Rollins, week ago, sent a letter to Governor Walz demanding he turn over every name of SNAP recipients on the books in Minnesota. The Minnesota Attorney General sued the Trump administration for that. What are they hiding? Our entire administration is working around the clock to get to the bottom of it, and President Trump will not let Governor Walz off the book. You covered a lot, but you mentioned the denaturalization. House majority they've called for all of the Somalis convicted of fraud to have their citizenship revoked. We know, according to Pam Bondi, 98 of the people charged, 85 are of Somali descent. Does President Trump want those Somalis to have their citizenship revoked if convicted of fraud? Absolutely. It's something the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of State is currently looking at. It's something this administration has already done. We know there are liberal activist judges across the country that will try to block and tackle this administration from pursuing justice at every turn, that's not going to stop the president and his entire cabinet by acting on behalf of law-abiding, tax-paying Americans in the state of Minnesota and across the country who've been ripped off and stealing money from law-abiding Americans. This administration is not going to tolerate it. This is a whole-of-government effort. We have surged resources. The Department of Justice has charged and prosecuted nearly 100 people. In fact, some of the buildings and sites that Nick Shirley exposed in the video are under current investigation by the Department of Justice. One of those sites, the Midway building, resulted in 13 defendants being charged earlier this year under the leadership of our Attorney General and President Trump. That is definitely going to continue. To wrap up this topic, it's a hot one on social media, people following it. We're so happy to hear the pausing of those payments to the child care facilities as this is sorted. Are other states on your radar? There have been rumblings about similar things happening, Ohio being mentioned. What's next and what states we look at shortly? Right now, Minnesota is the top of the list. We know there has been massive fraud in blue states across the country. Look at California, look at New York. These states will be under investigation and consideration as far as this administration is concerned. Again, to remind your audience, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal bureaucracy is something this president and administration has been focused on since day one. Look at U.S. aid, corrupt that was to save the American taxpayer money. We're not going to stop doing that. Anybody that has been ripping off American taxpayers will be held to the fullest extent of the law as long as this president is in charge. Border crossings. Basically, the border is closed. GDP has grown. Inflation has gone down. Of course, they passed the big, beautiful bill, brokering peace around the world. Two big ones, obviously, Israel and Iran. And of course, the ending of DEI in federal programs. When I look at this list, the one thing I see is only one of them is codified in legislation. President Trump can't do all of this on his own, but he's kind of doing it on his own. He didn't need help from Congress. The president has a great relationship with Congress. He has a great working relationship with Speaker Johnson, Senate Majority Leader, soon. The president has been clear he wants to do away with the filibuster so Republicans can play tough and smart and pass as much good legislation ahead of the midterms over the course of the president's next 3 years in office, so we can truly and fully save America before President Trump departs in 2028. As for the next year, the American people have so much to look forward to. The president will continue to build off of his historic accomplishments. The border will continue to stay shut. Mass deportations will continue. The largest tax cuts in American history for middle-class Americans that President Trump signed into law will go into effect this year. So hard-working Americans will start to see that money going back into their pockets. We know core inflation is at a 5-year record low. The full weight of President Trump's economic agenda, everything he and his economic team have been doing over the course of the last year, is going to come to fruition this year. I think you're going to see an economic boom. You'll continue to see a crackdown on crime in states across the country. The president's laser-focused around the clock. I've seen this firsthand. It's really remarkable how hard he works to make our country safer and more prosperous, and I think the best is yet to come in 2026. Karoline, best is yet to come. Best is also yet to come for you. We're so happy to congratulate you. Soon you be a mom of 2. We're so happy, so happy, so happy for you. What can you tell us? What's it going to look like for you to be a mom of 2 this summer? Thank you so much. My husband and I are so excited to grow our family and add a girl into the mix. I had my son during the midst of the 2024 campaign and got right back to work. I'm grateful to President Trump and our Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who have fostered a pro-family working environment at the White House. Almost all of my West Wing colleagues have children. We're all raising our families together and working for the president. It's a very busy season of life, but it's a lot of fun. I look forward to doing it all over again in 2026. That is amazing.